Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me, as always, is
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
What's up?
Not much, buddy. Oh man, I feel like we say this more and more lately, but it's been a minute.
It's been a few minutes, Khalid.
Yes, to be exact.
Yeah. We missed our deadline last. We're late. This is like a 3 weeks since our last episode. So we're sorry, folks. We're a little behind schedule.
Apologies, as will happen from time to time. Life got in the way.
It did, yeah. And Khalid, I will say, I mentioned this in the prior podcast that I was moving houses, and I think that maybe folks with kids might be aware of this, but moving with two small children is difficult. So
one can imagine if you're childless like me, it still paints a picture just what you were going through with all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I moved plenty of times before, and I'm always like, it's not too bad, but you know, it children put a brand new spin on it.
Truly. What would you say is like the biggest challenge moving with kids?
Probably like figuring out what to do with them when you're trying to pack and unpack, because I know, Khalid, I know you don't always hang out with toddlers, but if you have hung out with toddlers, you might be aware that they're not always the most helpful with tasks.
Are you kidding me?
So like, yeah, I mean, full on. They try. She tries sometimes, and it's awesome, and I love to encourage that. But there are times when it's like, okay, not super helpful here. You're more so making a big mess, you know, instead of putting stuff in boxes. But you know, she tries. I'll give her that. But it was hard. Yeah, that was hard.
I expected more from the 3-year-old, so this is all surprising to hear.
Yeah, and then the baby, and the baby, the 6-month-old, like can't. I mean, wouldn't even lift a box.
Okay, well, honestly, just stop right there, because these are like my little niece and nephew, and like I can't. I am getting just very disappointed hearing this. I thought we'd raise them better, Joe.
Well, you know what? I mean, we'll have to work harder on that one.
Yeah, all right. That's my next project. Next time I'm in town, I'm gonna get them to just like, maybe just like for starters, just coordinate a move or two for neighbors.
Probably. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, though, we never have to do it again. So maybe we just move on.
Crossing my fingers for you, buddy.
Yeah. How have you been?
Good. Oh my God. It's been a busier than usual month for me. On top of the regular work, I went to Seattle for a film festival for my short film, Look Mira. Was received pretty well. That was awesome. Got to meet a bunch of really cool and talented young filmmakers, and it just really reinvigorated me for what I came out here for. You know, my day job pays the bills and it's still in production, but you know, I came out here with a plan, and seeing all these like really driven folks doing their thing instilled a newfound energy in me. So I'm hitting the ground strong this year. I think I'm going to try and make some more stuff and really just, you know, follow through on the goals I set for myself.
Sorry, Khalid, could you repeat the title of that film that's taking the film festival circuit by storm?
Yeah. It's called Look Mira, and it's actually on No Budge now. I'll get you the link so you can post it. But yeah, you can
we will
watch
definitely
it
post it, Khalid.
Yeah, you can watch it on the No Budge YouTube page as well as their website. There's a bunch of really cool short films from young filmmakers on there, and you can count ours among them now.
Yeah, no, I've watched it. It's great. It's really good, folks. Click on the link in the show notes and definitely give this one a watch.
Please, yeah. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I'm that's exciting to hear. I'm excited to see what comes next from you and your people.
Well, me and my people are hard at work, so trust that it'll be sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Any updates from the Khalid Home and Garden Network?
We finally got matching dining chairs, so that's a That's a big move
That's
for me.
huge. That's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feel good about that. I mean, it's nothing special. It's just IKEA chairs, but just we had chairs that the original people that lived here had left behind, and it worked for a while, but they were kind of rickety and then breaking, and eventually it just kind of became this like ramshackle. Like, here's a chair, here's another chair, and so we were just like, enough's enough. When people come here, they need to see a uniform set of chairs.
Yep. Yeah. We think that sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. And then on top of that, my buddy, another buddy of mine named Joe, he is moving to New York, so he just gave me a bunch of stuff. So now I have a bike. I got a really cool desk from him and a really cool record player and sound system. So yeah, no, the home and garden branch of my life is definitely blooming.
Ooh, good word choice there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to check in there. It's becoming a staple of this show, I think, where we just learn how little bits of movement in your adult process are going. So
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
adulting piecemeal, so
yeah,
it's happening.
it's coming along. I got a question for you, Khalid.
Hit me.
Why is the moon so grumpy?
Why, Joe?
Just going through a phase.
Okay, not your worst, not your best.
Why did the restaurant on the moon get such bad reviews?
Oh, so there's more of these. Okay. Why, Joe?
There's just no atmosphere.
Okay, that one really hit me in my anger spot. Really hit that button that you're always going for.
What kind of books does the moon like to read?
Can you just tell me how many of these I have left so I can brace myself? Ask me the question again. I already forgot.
What kind of books does the moon like to read?
What kind, Joe?
Comet books.
That's okay. That did it. That one really just, I don't know if I'm going to recover from that one.
Well, you could say that last joke eclipsed all the others.
I wouldn't, personally.
You ready to tell the listeners about a show we're all over the moon about?
Joe, do you need a minute to get this out of your system? Because we can just pause the recording and just you can just railgun off whatever else you have.
Oh, that was it. That was it. I'm really happy about it, though.
Yeah, you sound very self-satisfied. I can't see your face, and yet I know it's the smuggest face.
It is very smug, and I'm very satisfied.
Okay, well, I'm happy for you, even if I'm not happy having endured. Okay, so the thing we're talking about today is the Disney Plus series Moon Knight. It came out in March 2022, and I've got a synopsis from our homeboy Google. Really short, kind of says nothing. Stephen Grant and mercenary Mark Spector investigate the mysteries of the Egyptian gods from inside the same body. That's it.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Wow, damn, that says very little.
This is very little. Yeah, I'm glad that they at least let you know that much of it.
It's worded weirdly, from inside the same body.
Yeah, it sounds more
an odd way to put it.
Yeah, I don't know what it's
there's something supernatural of them sharing a body where it's real. It's not necessarily that's not supernatural.
No, it's not. It's, if anything, that's the most semi-grounded part of it, although I guess we'll get into it, but I don't necessarily know how accurately they represent DID, dissociative identity disorder. But
I have notes on that. We'll definitely get on it.
Yeah, so even within that, it is still the most realistic part of it. So it feels weird how they're putting it in this matrixy way.
Yeah, it's weird. So I think I mean I guess we should just kind of back up, and so it's so for listeners, I'm sure everyone already knows. Moon Knight's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. It's a Marvel property. It's based on a comic book character, of course, but the creators are writer Doug, I believe Mensch is how it's pronounced, and artist Don Perlin. And the character actually first appeared in 1975 in a comic called Werewolf by Night, which I think Werewolf by Night is actually being adapted to a D+, a special or show coming up soon too. So that's kind of cool. But in the comics, uh, I'd say the DID, dissociative identity disorder, is represented well depending on who the writer is. But I think that there was years where it was just always called schizophrenia because that was like this general pop culture, like, oh, split personality, schizophrenia, for so many years. But it's more so now they're kind of putting a better, I'd say, better effort into recognizing what actually they're writing about. So we'll talk about that too. But that brings us to the show, which is, what was it, 8 episodes, Khalid?
6.
6 episodes. Yeah, it's a 6-episode limited series. At this point, I think there's no plans for a season 2. Is that right?
Yeah, currently there isn't, but we'll get into it. They definitely set it up that there needs to be like a season 2 or a movie or something, just based on where they left things. I mean, it's Marvel. Like, if it's a hit, there's no way they're gonna just like walk away from it.
Right. So, what's initial thoughts? What'd you think of the series?
Okay, so overall, I liked it. I think that the Disney Plus Marvel experiment has been uneven, to put it kindly. I would say that like the like out and out successes for me would have to be WandaVision, Loki, and then we're like I keep saying, we're gonna get into it, but like with Moon Knight, I would say I would count that in the success like section of things. But I don't know, there's something just very like you just see them adjusting so much more with this series stuff versus the movies, which by now they have like 20 plus. So like they kind of have it down pat what they're going to do with the movies. And it's very interesting to see them figure out what they can and can't do in a series versus a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I guess just short answer, I liked it. Long answer, I do think that there is something to be said about what if this was just a movie? Would it have been better? My answer personally probably would have been better as a movie. I think that this could have benefited from tighter writing and focusing more on the characters that we really care about in the show that maybe feel like they got sidelined at times in favor of building out a series versus just working on the story they had at hand. What about you?
I see your point. Yeah, I would definitely count this in the success category as well. I really like this one a lot. This might be my favorite of the shows, I think, at this point. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, but I felt like, I feel like when you say they're uneven, I think all of the shows are a little uneven in terms of like many of them start really strong and kind of have an ending that's a little bit more questionable. Like, I'd say that WandaVision might be my objective favorite so far, but I still think the ending was pretty traditional in terms of like an MCU fight,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of frustrating a little bit, even though I still like the show very much overall. But I felt like this one for me was the most I was getting the most consistent enjoyment out of it. And at the very end, like, I really, really enjoyed the finale. I liked the kaiju battle at the end. I thought that was super sweet. And so I thought it was a different kind of ending. I think that the story was actually pretty unique in its own right. It felt the most removed from the greater universe, and I kind of felt like that served it well. And I think the mythology was great. The reason we're bringing it on the podcast, I like the creature designs and like the god designs. All that stuff was really interesting, and I kind of liked that. I'm sure we'll talk about this too, but like the action scenes were not necessarily always there. Like, I kind of liked that because for someone like who watches lots of comic book movies, sometimes fight scenes get boring to me at this point. Like, it's almost blasphemy to say, but sometimes I'm kind of bored with it. And so like the one episode where he kept just flashing and blacking out when he would do badass fight scenes, I'm like, okay, fine, that's funny. The reactions are funny to me. I'm enjoying that more than I probably would have enjoyed the fight,
See, I really liked that in the pilot. I really liked it when they did it in the premiere. Because one, it narratively made sense. We're following Steven, who, just to kind of give like a quick overview, if for whatever reason you haven't seen the show but you're listening to this, Steven is one of, at least for the majority of the series that we know, one of two personalities occupying the same body. So Stephen Grant's the first one we meet, and he suffers from what he thinks is sleepwalking. So he chains himself up to a bed, and he's a mild-mannered, capital M, mild-mannered British guy that works at a museum that is focused on Egyptian gods and Egyptian history in general. And he suffers from blackouts at times. And when he at one point goes to bed, he wakes up in some like very obscure like Swiss or something like town, and he has no idea how he got there. And when he is pursued by these armed men for reasons unbeknownst to him or us, he at repeated times gets like cornered by them, and then he blacks out and he wakes up, and it's just like bloody corpses everywhere, just pure wreckage. And I agree, like that stuff was really cool, especially at first when like you don't really know what's going on. And so, yeah, like I think I'm in the same boat with you where I was kind of fatigued over the like superhero, well choreographed fight sequences. And this is like a nice way to kind of engage you without necessarily like wearing you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that was super fun. I'm with you though on, I think that the writing probably could have been tighter, and maybe as a movie this might have been stronger. But I wonder if it were to be a movie, I wonder how much freedom it would have had to, because it got pretty weird. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if it'd been as weird.
I mean, I think it could have still been weird. I mean, that also just comes down to like, it would have been the same creative team. And are we talking about a completely different story? Yeah. You know, I know even within this show, initially they were thinking of doing like, so in episode 4, there becomes a point when you don't know if everything you've seen up until then is real, or if it's been like the delusions of Mark Spector, who's the actual like initial personality in the body. I don't want to say the owner of the body because that just gets weird. But like the initial personality in the body, you find him in a mental asylum, and Ethan Hawke, who plays Arthur Harrow, who's the villain for the series, is just his therapist. And he tries to explain to him, he's like, all this stuff that you think is happening where you're like a superhero and I'm a supervillain and we're like trying to like hunt down Egyptian gods and stuff like that. Like that's all in your head. We're in a psych ward. None of that's real. They had initially planned on trying to make the whole series that, and they decided that that was too close to the FX series Legion.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, which fair enough, but I don't know. For me, it's like that was probably the most like captivating part of it for me, was like when they got into the mental institution and stuff. And like, I don't know that it would have sustained a 6-episode series to like keep going back and forth. Is this real? Isn't it? Like, of course it's real. Mm-hmm. But I did still enjoy those parts a lot. And I am curious, like if that's what got them the most excited, maybe it would have been a more exciting show overall.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, that those sequences were definitely the most exciting, and also once they kind of really doubled down on the psych ward being not real and that being the afterlife, like that, and then it got even stranger, and they were like opening doors to their history, and that got pretty heavy at times, and I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, do you want to get into that part? Because that's an okay. So like, I feel like we're just jumping around a little bit.
We are.
So the gist of it is, because again, like that synopsis really didn't say much. Was like I said, Stephen Grant, he's a mild-mannered guy, and he thinks that he's suffering from like sleepwalking or some kind of sleep disorder. In reality, he is one of two personalities sharing the same body, the other being Mark Spector, who is actually a mercenary. And he, on top of being a mercenary, is also the avatar for the Egyptian god Khonshu, who gives him the powers to become Moon Knight, who is a superhero that has kind of vaguely defined powers. Like I think like randomly by episode 5, he can fly, which was never established.
He makes his cape into like a moon shape and glides.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, he's basically like a bulletproof Batman for the most part. He has like these crescent moon type blades in his chest that he can pull out, and they seem to just either regenerate or boomerang back to him pretty frequently, because like he never runs out. And
I mean, he's got God powers, right?
What was that?
He's got God powers, so right.
Yeah. So again, but like that, it's vaguely defined God powers. You know what I mean? It's not like some of these other Marvel superheroes where it's like a more or less a specific skill set that they're tapping into. So yeah, like that's more or less the show, is like we're watching these two guys in the same body like fighting for control of it, and on top of that they have the powers of a superhero. So a lot of zaniness ensues, and there's a cool cast of characters around them.
Right.
But yeah, like, okay, so I guess my question for you is, what do you think of like the Disney Plus experiment? Like, do you think overall like it's successful or worth pursuing further? Because I know we've got Miss Marvel coming out next week as of this recording, or this week actually. Wow.
I think so. Yeah, this week.
Yeah, this week, and then they've still got like the Secret Wars and a few other series that are still like coming out this year alone, on top of the movies that are coming out. What do you think it's helping with what they're with Marvel's ambitious plans, or do you think it's just like the kind of thing that's like more and more people are tapping out?
I don't know. I do think more and more people are tapping out. I think that the numbers are showing that less people are watching each one, right?
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
Which is maybe to be expected. I mean, it's a lot more to ask people to watch multiple, like 6 to 8 episode series versus a movie, so it's more of a commitment. But I mean, the thing with the series is like, I wonder if there's less of a financial commitment there too. Like maybe it's easier to like cater that to more like hardcore fans. I don't know. So like, I think that there's like promise there. I have to wonder if maybe the release schedule might be too, packed. Like they're doing them, because I keep forgetting, like, oh my god, there's one coming up like next week. Like I forget that a lot, whereas I used to, being like a fan of the MCU, I used to always like know the dates when the movies were coming out. I mean, that could be a circumstance in my own life, but I'm like, I don't know when things are coming out anymore.
No,
I'm just hearing it on,
I think you're right. No, there used to be, I mean, there's probably a better word for this, but there used to be a sense of urgency with Marvel movies,
Yeah.
And anticipation built with it, like I think about just pre-Endgame with all of those movies. It was so much like we were just like, we'd leave a movie, and especially once they really figured out how to build one movie onto another, like I was pumped for Ant-Man and Wasp when I could not care less about the original Ant-Man, only because of what it meant to the overall Endgame saga and how it came out between Infinity War and Endgame and what other details it could inform into it. And like, for me, I distinctly remember at that time just being like, wow, they really figured this out in a way that's like, I know people always say like, oh yeah, the Marvel movies are really just like the world's most big budget like TV show. But then you actually get big budget TV shows and it seems to be kind of going off the rails. I think like the biggest example, and I know you haven't seen it yet, and I won't spoil it because it's not that new or it's not that old of a movie yet, but Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness really springboards off of WandaVision in a lot of ways. And it's fascinating to me that you don't necessarily need to have seen WandaVision to appreciate what the movie's doing. And in a weird way, like I feel like you should, just because it's like if these shows and movies are working in concert with each other, like they should be like building each other up. They should be lifting each other up. But to be able to just go into Doctor Strange 2, which pulls so much from that series, and you could more or less just like in 1 or 2 sentences, like catch someone up, and they don't necessarily need that info to get to where the movie wants you to be, is a problem fundamentally for me. And it makes me feel like the movies and shows are still kind of like pushing against each other more than they are working together,
Yeah, spent 7 years as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, right?
Exactly. I think that we saw the first round of this with like the Inhuman shows, the Netflix shows, the whatever they did over on like Freeform or whatever. Like there are all these other series that they tried to like kind of just be like, yeah, these just exist in the world and they don't do anything for the movies. And I think that was, at least as of now, more successful than what they are doing, where it's like they're trying to dovetail these stories and it's just not clicking, mostly because, like we said, people are very worn out even at the prospect of like, okay, watch this like 6 to 10 hours of television and then go watch this movie and then do it again ad nauseum for a year.
Yeah. And to your point, like there's definitely value to watching, I think, something like WandaVision for its own sake. I think it's really well done and pretty good. But like something like Falcon and Winter Soldier, which led to the announcement of the new Captain America movie starring, the Sam Wilson Cap. It feels like it's probably just going to be an extended prologue to that movie. Like it's not going to mean that much.
There's no way they're going to expect people to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier before Captain America 4. And nor should they. It was not, and I'm sorry, like I get it. There were a lot of factors that went into it, but it was not a good execution of that show. A lot of really cool ideas that got fumbled for one reason or another. And by the end of it, you kind of just go like, did I need to see it? And I think me and you've talked about it a bunch over text, but like that is like one of the most like disappointing of the Disney Plus shows. And I mean, I guess like, when I talk about this like TV experiment they're doing with Disney Plus, like so far for my money, the only one of these that absolutely needed to be a TV series was WandaVision, just because of what they were tackling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the format of it, yeah.
Exactly. Like that was the only one that was like so distinctly like tied into just the history of television, what television can mean to a person, especially like Elizabeth Olsen is like our age. She's like in her 30s and stuff. So like that character, Wanda Maximoff's character is like our age. And so like a whole generation that more or less grew up like being informed about the world through television, that all of it was baked into the concept, and they had everything from like the music to the directing, just like really hitting that home in a way that, like I think about something like Loki, that could have been a movie, dude. Like I
think it definitely could have been. Yeah.
All of these, like I said, Moon Knight could have been a movie. Falcon and the Winter Soldier should have been a movie. You know what I mean? Like it's basically like a cool, like crazy spy thriller at the end of the day, just like Winter Soldier was. And I cannot in a million years fathom them turning Winter Soldier into a series. That would have been a disappointment too, I think.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
know. We'll see. I mean, I like that the series were a better opportunity to kind of get some of these, like some different characters a chance to have series. Like now we're getting to like the Moon Knight, the Miss Marvels, the She-Hulks, those things. Like I think that's going to be fun to see them get their shot. Like I know we're getting obscure movie characters, but the movie slates are still pretty filled up. And so like seeing these characters get this opportunities, I think that's going to be fun to see. But yeah, it still remains to be seen like how it's going to be ultimately.
I think for me, the biggest issue is that with every other phase of the Avengers world, the MCU, they were always leading up to something in a way that was more or less clear. You know what I mean? Like, even if you didn't necessarily know how like certain pieces were going to fit, like you knew why they were introducing Captain Marvel. After a while, you knew why they were introducing Ant-Man and all this stuff. And like now it's just like, there's so many different origins that they're trying to like cover in one phase that it's like, I don't know how all these like disconnected pieces will eventually come together to make something as exciting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I think about like, they're still got a Blade movie coming out. They did the Eternals. They did Shang-Chi. They did, what else am I missing anything? Like I feel like I'm missing like other like origins that are still coming. Like they've got Miss Marvel coming. And I just it's so much, and I hate to be like the kid that's like sitting there with like a dessert platter in front of him and being like, this is too much. Like I feel like I'm looking a gift horse in the mouth, but like I also just worry that like we're not giving these characters enough breath on their own before we eventually try to just like put them in a box together.
Sure. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like a bubble that's about to burst.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Like I've been surprised before, and I welcome it again. Like please surprise me. Please make this somehow just the most cohesive thing, and I'm just like being short-sighted about it. But like, as someone who watches more of these than the average viewer, I am cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I think I feel with that. Like it does feel a little bit overwhelming to like, I mean, for me, I have very little time to do anything. And so like thinking about like, oh, I want to keep up with the universe. Like it feels when it starts to feel daunting, I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's a good thing,
I just want it to be like where it was with the original phases, where like, even if some of the movies were like lesser than the sum of their parts, you still like watch, if like, how we used to just like before a new movie came out, like when there wasn't so many of them, we'd watch a bunch of them in a row or something and just see the building blocks and stuff. I don't know that we can do that anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not a building block anymore. It's like the world's most like just convoluted Jenga pieces, and like you can't really even say like where to start one and where to like end the other. And I don't know. I mean, you know what? Like, I think that it all just goes back to what I've been saying, which is that I hope that they have a clear vision and it's going to all start to just like focus in on like a clear objective, that even if every movie or show isn't about that, like it's clear to see how they'll come into play together.
Agreed.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about the MCU and as a whole. We're here to talk
Which
about
we kind of did.
Which we kind of did. I always wanted to, though. Like this is the first like Marvel property we've talked about, and I've always been like just interested to get our thoughts on that on tape. So
yeah,
I'm glad we talked about it. But yeah, we're here to talk about Moon Knight specifically. So let me ask you, what was your favorite like part of the show? If it's a character or if it's like just like a whole like storyline, what really grabbed you? Because you're saying this was your favorite, and I'm interested to see why.
That's a good question. I think that I don't know. I think like just like it felt like a new corner of like supernatural, you know, like I get really excited with these Marvel movies and shows when they open up like a new corner of the world in a sense, if you know what I mean. Like I feel like Guardians was super excited for me because it opened up the cosmic world, you know, it introduced us to that. Like Doctor Strange was like, okay, now it's bringing magic into it. Thor was like the Norse gods, but this feels like it opens a whole new corner of like the Egyptian gods, the Egyptian mythology. Like I was really excited to see a lot of that brought into it, and like the way that like a lot of the gods were brought to life. Like I really liked the visual design of Khonshu. I thought that was really cool. I loved F. Murray Abraham. The voice there was just like a cool take on it, where he's just kind of I mean, he's like an imposing figure, but he's not like how you think like a god would talk necessarily.
He's very antagonistic. I liked that.
Very antagonistic. I liked that a lot. And so I really enjoyed a lot of that. I liked a lot of the things that the show kind of tried to do. I was reading too that behind the scenes and in front of the camera, there was just a whole ton of like local Egyptian talent that was present. So it was like a mission for authenticity led by the director, one of the directors and executive producer, which is Mohammed Diab, who happens to be apparently Marvel's first Arab filmmaker. So I thought that was cool. He said 90% of the roles were Egyptian roles when it came to extras, especially. And he wanted to like show Cairo and show Egypt in less of like a stereotypical light. And so I thought that it was all kind of cool stuff to like think about when I was watching the show, especially, and we didn't even touch on this, but the Layla character I thought was a really a fun addition to the show, especially at the end, which I guess we're spoiling the show. We've already spoiled, which she also ends up becoming an avatar for one of the gods and becomes the Scarlet Scarab character, which is an Egyptian hero, and like the first true like Egyptian hero. And I thought that was really cool. There was like a kid in one of the episodes like, are you an Egyptian superhero? And I thought that was a really cool moment.
Mouthful. That I really wanted to appreciate it, but it falls in the same vein as like when all of the girl Avengers.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Strike a pose. It's just like this feels a little more ham-fisted than you wanted it to be.
I like this better than the girl one though. I think like because it was such a small moment, you know.
I think they could have saved it by simply just taking out Egyptian and just like in like the like native Egyptian language, just been like, "Are you a superhero?" I think that would have been
cool. I like that better.
That would have been way more poignant.
I also don't feel like it's that weird though, because we're in a world where it's like there's a ton of superheroes, and so like when you see a battle, like, oh, are you an Egyptian superhero? Cool. Like I could see that happening.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It just feels like so studio notey to me, and I don't know.
It probably was, yeah.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm being a pessimist, and like the creatives really just wanted to like hit home, like, are you an Egyptian superhero? And I'm Monday night quarterbacking this in a way that I understand that in the moment, like decisions are made for like good reason.
Right.
And this is just me being nitpicky, but that part stood out for me.
Anyway, but I liked her character and I liked her outfit quite a bit too.
Yeah, no, her outfit's great. I love that she's like we already have Falcon. You know what I mean? And it's so easy to just like write off her character as like a the junior varsity Falcon, but
Mhm.
she comes in hard and strong, and I hope that they do a little bit more for her power set if and when we do see her again to kind of distinguish her from Falcon. I think it wouldn't
Mhm.
be that hard just because, like, for one, hers is like a magical based power and his is technologically based. But even outside of that, like, I think that she did a lot to like own that whole vibe in a way that was like
Absolutely.
really engaging and exciting to see and didn't feel like a rehash.
Yeah. So she's the so she becomes the avatar of the Tauret. Did I say it right?
Tawaret?
Tauret.
Yeah, I think it's Tawaret.
Tauret
Yeah.
character, that god, which is kind of like a hippo god, and that kind of brings me to what I wanted to talk about a little bit. That another piece that I really enjoyed of the show was kind of a depiction of the afterlife that we got to see. So Mark and Steven are killed in a sense, and we were talking about that earlier, and that's what brings them to this psych ward, and ultimately they're on this like where are they in like the barge, this like this
They're like on a boat. That's
a boat
like,
that takes them to it's like the Egyptian afterlife, the realm of the dead, known as Duat. That's what it was called, where their hearts are weighed against a feather to judge whether or not they can get access to the field of reeds, which is like sort of based in Egyptian mythology. And so we meet Taweret there, and she's like this hippo goddess who's this really bubbly kind of personality, and I really enjoyed the depiction of that character who. She was played by a woman named Antonia Salib, who apparently has her first credited role, and she did both voice and the motion capture for the character as well. So she wore a costume and actually some of the actual clothing. So something I was going to talk about when we get to the visual effects of like they actually built the actual costumes that all the gods were wearing that people wore on set, so they could kind of like mirror that when they put the CGI in later on.
I'm assuming they didn't have F. Murray Abraham in like a bird
nope.
mask.
No, I saw images. It's definitely not F. Murray Abraham. It probably came in like randomly later on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I really liked that character. I thought she was cool, and I really liked what we learned about the afterlife, because there was a line where she says something. There's many intersectional planes of untethered consciousness exist, meaning there are like countless afterlives, because we've seen different ones in the MCU already. And she even shouts out the ancestral plane.
Yeah,
too.
I clocked that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like, I really liked this sort of like confirmation that like there isn't one afterlife, that they're just like based on so many different like planes of existence. There's all these different like kind of like collective consciousness based like planes where your soul will go. I thought that was a really cool idea.
Sorry, I just got really distracted. 2 kids just like came on our driveway and took an old office chair we put outside.
Well, that's good,
no,
right?
Yeah, I don't mind. I was just like very much just like
what's happening?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah,
sorry about that. I love that they basically kind of sidestep the whole like, okay, so if this is the real heaven, like what does that mean for other people? And it's like, no, like consciousness is its own like dimension in the MCU, which I think is the smartest move. It allows them to keep like exploring characters that deal with that regularly, especially when we get more into like magical thinking in these shows and movies. And I agree. Like, I think that making it this like subjective thing of like kind of like what you believed in or what you subscribe to is going to like lead to your afterlife. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that was some of the weirdest parts that we saw too. And I really enjoyed those episodes that were kind of like exploring that element.
Yeah. So, okay. So I guess my favorite thing is probably the performance from Oscar Isaac. It's
for sure.
I can see why he was attracted to this project, especially like after his last superhero outing was X-Men Apocalypse. Did you ever I think we talked about this, but like his whole thing on that was like he in interviews he was like, yeah, I was so excited to like work on this movie with like Jennifer Lawrence and James McAvoy and all these like great young actors that like are doing awesome things, and I was excited, just even if it's a superhero movie, I was excited to be in there with them. And then I get there and it's like I have to spend like 6 to 8 hours a day in makeup and I don't see anybody until I get on set. The suit is so uncomfortable. They have to come up with like air conditioning mechanisms for me. I can't make any facial expressions, and I'm just like, that sounds so like I'm a big superhero movie guy. Like I like them, and I get what people say about like what it may be doing to the industry or like what it might be doing to like the theater going experience. But all that aside, like I feel bummed that like a really good actor wasn't able to like show his like skills just because of something so practically hindering.
Yeah.
So it was nice that he was able to like come back into the superhero world, and especially in something as well managed as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they gave him something really meaty, because like definitely in the MCU, it's so much more like the superheroes are so much more character driven than like a lot of the other superhero movies that come out, where it's sometimes it's like very much just like spectacle driven, and that's fine if you can do that well. But when you want something like this, where it's like such a just like complex character of like, not only are you playing multiple people inhabiting the same body, but then it's like just like the existential crisis of it all, of like what you have to be willing to do when like half of you is a mercenary. You know what I mean? Like there's actual blood on your hands, and you have to like contend with that. And then when they get into that same episode you're talking about, when we start to see the afterlife and everything, and you get the backstory of why Mark Spector like fractured his consciousness to begin with, and like how heartbreaking that was. I mean, what did you think of that? Like, let's get into that, because that was so, for me, I was taken aback by like how far they pushed it. Like they obviously didn't like go the furthest they could with it, because it is still a Marvel property and they don't want to traumatize people. But
Right.
but I don't know. Like I think they're getting a little like riskier with it. They're getting a little bit like more risque in general with some of the subject matter, as far as like what they're willing to broach. And I think this is a good example of it, because just to get into it, we find out that when Mark was younger, he had a little brother who unfortunately died when they were like going on like a little adventure like in the caves near their home, and his mom just never stopped blaming him for it, to the point where she's like both verbally and physically abusive with him. And the only way he could like get around that is like he literally like his psyche broke, and he created Steven based off of a character that's like a kind of a dorkier Indiana Jones. And that's how Stephen Grant was created. And Steven didn't know any of this. Like there's this heartbreaking thing in retrospect in the pilot, when like you're watching him like kind of go about his day and just being like a bumbling dork or whatever. And you see he's on the phone with his mom, but you never hear the other side of the call with his mom. And then later on you find out that she wasn't, because she died. She's not there. Like he doesn't have a relationship with his mom, and Steven is literally just like fabricating all of this. And it's like, that to me really hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. It was super well done though. I really appreciated how we saw it. And you're right. That was like the scenes where we see like Steven and Mark kind of witnessing those flashbacks in their afterlife. Like they actually had to kind of watch and like relive it in that sense. Were some of the greatest showcases for Oscar Isaac, I think.
Yeah, and it's like you see that, and you see something like that, and you go, of course they had to get Oscar Isaac for something like this. You needed an actor that could like cut through all of the like antics and like the MCU self-awareness of like that jokey humor of like, oh, I'm gonna feel that in the morning. And you needed to get to like a place of like, oh, this is like a person that is internalizing a lot of guilt, a lot of baggage, and he is trying to hide that from the person that helps him the most with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was well done. I think that it kind of brings us to talking about the like depiction the show has of mental health. And I think I did some research onto this, and so like dissociative identity disorder being a big part of Moon Knight's story, apparently the producers were pretty sensitive about trying to ensure like a proper portrayal of mental health, and they had they hired a board certified psychiatrist who was, I think, named Dr. Paul Puri to work with actors and directors. And I got an article that I'm pulling from that, which I'll add in the show notes as well. But there is also within that, there was an interview with another professor of general psychology at a college who talked about DID is like a spectrum disorder. And so like there's a lot of different ways that it's manifested in people. And so the way that it's shown in the show is definitely a more extreme view of it, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility. Like some of the things we see, like the amnesia, recurring amnesia, the switching between the two alters, like that is all like something that people with DID will experience. One of the things that this psychiatrist talks about is the scene where like Mark and Steven talk. He says something like, here's the quote: "I survived because I knew I wasn't alone. You were always there, alive and full of hope. You were the only real superpower I ever had." And so the psychiatrist was talking about how powerful that scene is, where it's like taking the concept of like a mental health issue, or what people would see as like a mental health disability, and like saying like that was the real superpower that like kind of kept him going and like really motivated him as a person and like kept him alive, and said that was a really powerful thing for people with DID to see, and maybe to like actually just depict of something like that. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And the last thing I read in the article that I thought was interesting was the psychiatrist said the way that the splitting of between the alter egos was done quite well. But the one thing it didn't really highlight as much as the amnesia. And towards the end, when they kind of like just would switch seamlessly between each other and like communicate between each other, he's like, that's when it started to get in the realm of more fantasy, because that really doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and it's tough with like depicting mental illness on screen, because you're already just walking like such a fine line, especially in this society. Tragic news stories from like this week and last week notwithstanding, that there is a tendency in at least America to like scapegoat mental illness as like the catch-all for like why like terrible things can happen. And I'm always wary when it's introduced in a storyline, because it can always add to that like myth. I think back to like the early 2000s and stuff like that, where like there were so many, like I think it was like post Fight Club, where like the twist was always like the person schizophrenic, and there's this idea of like just like a person who admits to having any kind of mental illness is automatically like giving up like any kind of agency, and they are suddenly like just saddled with like being capable of like anything, no matter how bad, because they don't necessarily have any like control over themselves. And so I was wary about that even going into this show, especially like it was cool to see the depiction, but the whole idea of like he blacks out and he wakes up and it's just like a bunch of like brutalized bodies next to him, like that's ammo for like the wrong type of person to like try and like build a narrative around that dangerous idea of like mental illness automatically means you're a bad person.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I do give them points though, as the show went on, like they did a good job of kind of like elaborating on that. And again, like if you're the kind of person that's like looking to like a Marvel show to try and inform like your everyday real life, and anything that goes on in it, then you're already kind of off on a bad note. So I don't want to put like too much pressure on these like creatives to like always consider that. But it's also like, if you're going to use a real issue, tread carefully, because that's a hot button issue for everybody now. I think I've forgotten what I was trying to say ultimately with this point, other than just like, I think overall they did a good job with tackling this subject in entertainment.
Agreed. I think that's definitely true. I think that's something we can say about it for sure.
Yeah.
I think that it's a good time to segue into the monsters in question, which I don't necessarily say, I don't think monster is necessarily the appropriate word for what we have here, but we have like the Egyptian gods and their depiction in terms of like, it's creature design for sure. I would say it's creature design for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's non-human.
Yeah. So the main ones we see Khonshu quite a bit, who we've mentioned is voiced by F. Murray Abraham. Khonshu is a member of the Aeneid, the gods of Egypt, who, according to Marvel, they are not aliens. They are elder gods. He does appear in all white with a large bird skull for a head. He's the god of the moon, or god of vengeance, shepherd of the lost. and he has like his avatar, the lone warrior called Moon Knight. We also talked a little bit about Tauret, the Great One, depicted by scholars in ancient Egypt as being the protective goddess of mother and child during pregnancy and childbirth. So it was actually not necessarily, I don't think, true to myth that she's the guardian of the afterlife. I think they just kind of chose her for that role in the show for the Marvel mythology. I guess they could play around with it a little bit, but
for some reason I thought it was like her relationship to Layla's dad, but I don't know.
Oh, that could be. Maybe it's more like specific to character.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's depicted as as a hippo goddess. So that was pretty cool. And then we also have Amit, who Ethan Hawke's character is trying to free the whole time, and we see at the end, who is voiced by Saba Mubarak, who's a Jordanian actress, and so she was infamous for judging and punishing people before they could even commit any evil, and she appears as like an anthropomorphized crocodile with actually a really cool like hair, which she can kind of use almost like a tail also along with her tail. But she's kind of like the big bad at the very end that Khonshu ends up having to fight, and they kind of become giant kaiju and fighting in the background of behind Cairo, which is a really cool sequence, I think, overall. But those are kind of the three main ones we see. We also see like kind of monstrous jackals here and there. There's a really cool fight scene, I think, in episode 2 between Moon Knight, who and one of the it's Alter Moon Knight, Mr. Knight, the one in the suit.
I did like that. I did that was like super that. Fun. Yeah, whenever it was Steven who was trying to activate Moon Knight, it was like this guy in a dapper suit versus like the Mark Spector Moon Knight, who's like a mummy assassin.
Yeah, that was great. So we had those jackals were there here and there, but they're just kind of like monsters that would come after them occasionally. But did you have a favorite of the gods? I know we got a lot with Khonshu, but did you have one you liked the most?
Oh, it's got to be Taweret.
Yeah, she's so great.
I think what I loved about it was like, especially like when we first see her and like the door opens and they see her, like it's in Mark/Steven's mind, so like they're both there and they see Taweret and like you see it's just like this huge hippo goddess, and all of a sudden you just hear hi, and it's just like this like high pitched like Kristen Shaw-esque like voice that I could not have been anticipating. I don't know what like I thought I was going to hear, but it wasn't that. And it was just so delightful, and I loved it. And like everything about her was so great. And it was just nice to have like one of these gods that wasn't a dick, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, she was great. I'm with you on that. Yeah. She's super fun.
It's very true to history though, in the sense that like, you know, like you hear about the Greek gods and stuff like that. And like most of them are just like insufferable and like unrelatable. And then like you get like someone like Taweret coming in and it's just like, okay, so some of you guys were cool. Some of you could hang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some can hang. Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely my favorite. That's why, like, I mean, even if like for whatever reason they can't get Oscar Isaac back, I really hope that they get the actress that played Layla back, because I think her and Taweret have like so much more story to tell. I think that she deserves a story independent of the Mark drama, because it's such a like eclipsing story that everything else around it kind of just takes a backseat a lot of the time. And I think that they've done enough of a good job with like introducing her that I want to see more. It's basically the Princess Leia syndrome of like, well, this is a very interesting and super capable character that unfortunately has to just be there for the protagonist.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'd love to see that. I think I from what I've heard, I think Oscar Isaac is done. But I don't. He could be saying that too. So I think it is ripe to see that character continue on more.
Yeah. It's super easy to have her just go out and do her own thing, you know, just based on like what her skill set and what she already knows in and of it, her like independent of him. For sure.
So one thing that I thought was interesting. So I think that the designs of the gods were really cool. The three that we saw, like there was a lot of detail and work that was putting into how they look. I think there was a lot of shots of Khonshu that I really, really enjoyed. Specifically, I think in the finale there was one of him just kind of silhouetted against the sunrise in Egypt in the desert. I thought that looked really cool.
They did a good job with like really making like the location a part of the effect of it all.
For sure. I really liked the early scenes with Khonshu where he's kind of like a more like scary character at first, where he's like sneaking up on Steven. He doesn't know what's going on. And like those were really creepy and effective. I also really loved the visual of Steven and Khonshu like turning back the night sky. I thought that was a cool sequence.
I thought it was cool too,
silly,
until someone online pointed out there's literally like an app you can just pull up to like figure out what the stars were like that night.
Oh, absolutely. It's super silly, but it looked really cool.
And I mean, in Khonshu's defense, he's not going to know about apps. So
Steven should know.
Steven should know, but he's also understandably very overwhelmed by it all.
True.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are great. But one thing that I had been reading as the show is going on is I feel like there were a lot of people online who were very critical of the show's like visual effects and CGI and the way that things looked. And I think that part of that is a consequence that this is a TV Disney Plus thing versus like big budget movies. But I wanted to cite an article that friend of the podcast Ryan Mintz sent to me that maybe you've seen, Khalid. It's a Defector is the website, and it says it's an anonymous TV writer offers an inside look at why special effects seem so bad right now. Did you read this yet?
I think I might have skimmed it, but go ahead. I'll see if it jogs my memory.
So the writer talks about working on effects like years ago versus now, and how like effects shot weren't as in high of a demand a long time ago, or were in like TV specifically, but the sheer number of demand, the sheer amount of demand for effect shots and like just lots and lots of CGI is spreading a lot of these people so thin. So we're seeing like we're just not seeing the level of attention to detail and care that can go into every single CGI shot that people have kind of like gotten used to from the movies, I'd say. So like it's just a factor of being spread thin, I think. And so and the money that like Netflix and Disney is putting on these shows, you're seeing like, oh, there's so much money being spent per episode. But it's true, a lot of that is going to like Oscar Isaac, for example, F. Murray Abraham, like massive stars that you're bringing to TV for this. So like not all of that, like the amount of money that's actually going to special effects is not really increased based on that budget, is what we're learning. And so the effects like are noticeably arguably less I guess objectively good than you would expect, but I think that it's a bit of a disingenuous thing for people to be like, oh, the CGI was so crappy, because you're still dismissing like the work that goes into it, and you're also dismissing like there's a difference between like the artistry of like the design. Like I just talked about, the design of the creatures was really great. The design is different from the rendering, right? You know, like the way it's actually animated is different from like who designed it to begin with. So there's different steps in that whole process. And I think by just like people being like, the CGI sucked, you're kind of missing the mark on like, I think what I thought was cool about the creature effects, if you know, if that makes any sense. No,
yeah, I agree with you. And I think that at least in some of the like criticisms, they're coming from a place of bad faith. And
I think so too.
You know, it's people that are kind of already just have a grudge against the Marvel complex as it is now, and you know that's fair. Again, like I said earlier, like there's something to be said about what the MCU has done to the like movie theater landscape as we know it. I don't know that the blame lands entirely at their feet, but there are people that are going to just latch on to like any kind of criticism, as valid or invalid as it may seem to us. So yeah, I can see what they're saying in sense that like some of the effects are shaky, but I'm so just reluctant to like sandbag a bunch of overworked VFX artists.
Right.
You know, I feel like they're doing the most they can with what they have, and there are just always going to be these limitations short of like a James Cameron level budget. And stuff like that still takes like a crazy amount of time. And I know that like I can't remember where I read this either, but like I know that a lot of the previs or visualizations for Marvel movies happen way before they even bring on a creative team to lead it. Mm-hmm. Like it'll just be like a room of like visual artists or whoever, and Paul Feige or Kevin Feige. And not the creator of Bridesmaids, Kevin Feige. And they'll basically like think of like cool action set pieces. I think the biggest one that I know of was Black Widow. Like way before they brought on any creatives, the action set pieces were already in previs and like being made. So like as a creative, you had to write around that. So
Oh, interesting.
so there's a lot of levels to it, and in a machine like this, like there's just so many different parts that you have to try and take into consideration. And so, yeah, could it have been better? Sure. Was I disappointed? No, is my answer to that.
There's kind of some cool like behind the scenes videos that are on YouTube that you can find. I'm sure they're on Disney Plus too, but I watched one. It was called "Why Khonshu Looks Unlike Other Gods," and it's about it's interviews head of visual development for Marvel Studios, whose name is Ryan Meinerding, and then the visual development supervisor for Moon Knight. His name was Rodney Fuentebella. And so it's kind of cool to hear their perspectives on like the renderings and the CGI and how that all came together. And they talked about how they actually, like, I think I mentioned earlier, how they had people wearing the actual costumes, right? To kind of stand in for the gods and stuff. Like they kind of talked about that final battle, that first one that took place just within like the temple before they got giant. They had people wearing those costumes and kind of doing a lot of those movements that ultimately became like the CGI that we saw, because they wanted to try to figure out before they like made the CGI how the lighting would look and how they would interact with the physical surroundings. So I thought that was kind of cool, because I know that can be kind of a trap sometimes when you have like all this film the film already done and you have to like make the CGI work within what's already been made. So I think they kind of did that the opposite way, and I thought that was kind of cool to hear.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for me at least, like I like it when it's like the Mandalorian or Loki, and like they're definitely using that. I can't remember what it's called now. There's like a name for the location they use, but like they've been doing this thing in recent years where like in lieu of like, you know, trying to like make a green screen stage look like an alien planet or whatever, they've been putting them in actors in front of like these like LCD screens, like really high definition screens that can like work in place of fantastic locations. And I was so glad that they sidestepped that for what seems like the most part, to actually shoot on location and like film in Egypt, specifically in Egypt proper, to really give the effect of like this. I feel like I'm in it here.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah. So I think there seems to be a lot of care that went into it. I'll share a link to that video as well. But yeah, no, I think they were good. I liked it all. I like the creature. Like the creature design was definitely something that, being somebody who hosts a creature podcast, like I was excited about this show for that. You know, like that was a draw for me for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So my last thought on the whole series before we move on is I really loved Oscar Isaac's accent, like as a British person, as Stephen Grant. At first it was funny because I was like, oh, this is just like a bad accent. And then when you realize it's like, oh, this is like a person who's like kind of just doing their like approximation of a British accent based off of like what seems like a cartoonish like film series. It really worked for me. Just like the way he just kept saying like blimey and all these things. It really just, it felt like a caricature of a British person. And the fact that it was like narratively motivated was like, just like the icing on top for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
It's so bad. And it's still,
it's so bad, but so great.
Exactly. And it was just, especially like, just like watching him just like do like his like, he's such a good like facial expressionist as an actor, Oscar Isaac, and like just watching him just like wide-eyed running from danger and saying a bunch of like cheesy, corny British like catchphrases was just chef's kiss. So good.
Yeah. Khalid, if I could rewind just like a little bit to what you were saying before, you said and latch on to that word icing. I've heard that that bears tend to like icing.
I did not know where you were going with that, and I should have.
You absolutely should have.
That's on me, folks.
Is there a world in which Moon Knight passes the 4 bears test?
Yes, the jackals.
Oh, really? Oh, yep. I'll give. They don't. Well, they're invisible, but
okay. But like, okay, assuming that even if you could see the bears, if it's just like Stephen Grant not knowing what the hell is going on and someone sicked 4 bears on him, I think he's screwed. I think that the story still more or less works if you're just like sending four bears against like this like unwitting dude. And then I think that they would still give the same amount of problems to Moon Knight once he's like full proper in the suit when Mark takes over. So in that sense, it's a pass. I think when you get into like Amit and any of the other creatures or anything, you're talking like it's the kaiju rule. Like if it's a kaiju, the four bears test is an automatic fail. Yeah, but then obviously the invisibility thing is a problem, but that's more of a narrative problem in that like the only time the invisibility thing really matters is like when the security guard is like running the tape back and he just sees like Stephen Grant running away from nothing. I don't know like any other time where like the jackals would have cared if anybody saw them or not. Like I know that there's that whole scene where like he's throwing them into double-decker buses and stuff and it looks like nothing's going on, but in that moment I don't think they would have cared if they were seen or not.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Side point, when I was learning about the visual effects for that battle with the invisible jackal that we saw, there was a stand-in, like a guy who wore like an entirely gray suit that was able to be like edited out to be like invisible or like a CGI jackal. And so they had that guy doing like the pushing and pulling on like Oscar Isaac and the characters when they were fighting, and like the kind of like indents into the buses and stuff. So there was like physically someone there when they did all that. So it was kind of interesting to learn.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So, just to cut to the point, yeah, it's a half pass, but ultimately a fail, I guess, if you want to like be a stickler to the invisibility, stuff. But, we forgot to talk about the Jake Lockley of it all. And I feel like we should talk about that for a quick second.
Good point. Yeah.
What did you think about how they executed it? Cause for me, I know that like a little bit of it was spoiled for me because like I'll like read like an article or like a review that'll like casually mention that in the comic books there is a secret third personality, and it's alluded to in this story that every time it was like a particularly like gruesome murder. So even that first episode when we think it was Mark doing all of that, I think in the retrospect it was all Jake, right? So
might be, yeah.
Well, it had to be because like when we see Mark fight, he still like has like the wherewithal to not kill people if he can help it. But so Jake is going to be the third personality, and this is what makes me think they have to bring Oscar Isaac back because they waited all the way until the post credits of the final episode to even admit that he was a person. And that just seems like a huge waste. Like he only speaks Spanish, presumably, and he is the third and most violent personality of the three, and he's the one that Khonshu ends up like just recruiting full time to do his like bidding as Moon Knight. Because by the end of it, Mark and Steven denounce him, and they're just like, "Get we don't want to do your bidding anymore." What did you think of that rollout?
That's a good question. I think that you're right that would be better explored in like a follow-up if they did bring Oscar Isaac back. I'm kind of glad that we didn't have the focus. Like the focus was like the relationship between Steven and Mark. Ultimately, I thought that was a really nice emotional core for a while, and I think that the Jake element would have added some weirdness to that, which it will. Like it'd be interesting to explore like later on if there was more to it, but I don't mind it. I also knew that was coming because I know a bit from the comics. I knew the Jake character, and I know there's like so many other personalities in the comics that could be pulled from and like rolled out. Like there's a comic where there's a series where he takes on like some of his identities think they're Captain America and Spider-Man and all these different like heroes from Marvel already. So he tries to do all that stuff. Like there's just tons in the comics. So like but I knew that the Jake, Mark, and Steven were the main ones, and I was just kind of waiting for when we're going to get the reveal for Jake. I was fine with it.
I just think it was so awkward at times when it's like you already know you suffer from like split personalities. Especially like when they see like, so like when he dies and he goes to the room and he finds Steven trapped in a sarcophagus and he opens it. They walk past another room with another shaking sarcophagus and just, they don't even comment on it. They just see it and then keep moving. And that to me felt like so awkward in like this isn't even a breadcrumb. This is like a full on like loaf of bread that's like wafting like smell scents off of it, you know, like cartoon smell lines off of it. And you're just going to ignore it in favor of like just keeping the story moving. And at that point, I'm just like, why put it in anyway, other than to distract people? I don't know. It felt like there were so many times when like these otherwise like rational characters, to me at least, in a as rational as you could be in such a crazy scenario, just stopped acting like people and started acting like narrative devices and like willingly ignoring something that they otherwise wouldn't. You know, like if I'm Mark and I'm blacking out and all of a sudden a bunch of people like are dead around me, I know Steven didn't do it. So so I'm gonna have a question or two. But I get it, you know, like there's already so much going on. They didn't really have the time to address it like they wanted to. And it's the Marvel thing of like, well, set up for more. Which again, like this makes me think that like they have to bring Oscar Isaac back in some form or another. So I hope they do. And I hope that they, now that they've kind of established like Mark and Steven on the same side of things and like kind of more cohesive unit, that they're going to use that to really explore like, oh, there's a psychopath inside of us on top of all of that. Yeah, but okay. So like, I guess that leads me to my other question. Like, assuming that we don't see another Moon Knight series, would you like Moon Knight to pop up in anything else? Like, is there something that you think he could come up in that would like be cool to see him pop up in again?
I actually felt like the most connection I could see was like with the Eternals.
That's interesting. Did you read the article or did you hear about the potential Eternals connection they were going to have?
Well, nope, I did not.
So the creator, is Diaby, is that his name?
I think is Mohammed Diab. I've only read it, so I don't know if it's pronounced that.
Yeah, so he's actually friends with Kumail Nanjiani from the Eternals, who played Kingo, and he wanted to do like just like a flashback to like centuries before when Khonshu had somebody else's Moon Knight, and it was going to be him and Kingo fighting something together.
That'd be cool.
They eventually scrapped it just because like he was saying that like just because of budgetary reasons, it was like I could either do that or I could save this money for like the finale or like something that has actually like more like tied to the story I'm trying to tell versus just a cool Easter egg.
Oh, that would have been cool. But I see that. I see the reason why they would have cut that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with you. The Eternals makes the most sense as far as like Marvel characters that he could easily slip in with. I want to say Blade. I think that yep. Moon Knight just popping up for a scene or two in a Blade movie would be pretty cool. Even as I say it, though, I can't figure out a way they would do it that wouldn't just confuse half the audience.
Yeah, no, because I think Moon Knight isn't it the least viewed of them all now so far?
I don't know. I don't keep track of that, so it's hard.
Yeah, I think it might be.
At this point, I assume that me and you are the only ones watching these things.
It's true. Yeah. The numbers are 2, 3. I guess Nikki watched with me, so
exactly.
Same TV.
Well, yeah,
2.
so 2. So it's really, as far as they're concerned, it's only 2 people watching it. But yeah, for some reason, I just would love to see. Well, not for some reason, for the obvious reason, I would love to see Oscar Isaac and Mahershala Ali on screen together fighting vampires.
That would be cool. That would be so cool.
That'd be so
like the supernatural elements of the two of them. I think would work well together as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that could be fun. But
I'm super excited for Blade because like I mentioned, like different corners of the universe bringing in like this like horror vampire element. Like I'm excited for that too.
Joe, what are you talking about? They already introduced that with Morbius.
Yeah, they did. Huh? It's a different universe technically.
God, it's such a mess over there. The Sony corner is such a mess.
Yeah, it's mostly best ignored unless the venom of it for funsies, but that's about it.
Oh,
yeah.
Anyways, okay, we can move on that note. Anytime you bring up Morbius, it's a good time to pivot.
It is. It really is. Anyway, still excited for vampires to come. Yeah, real vampires.
Joe, he's the living vampire. What are you talking about?
It's not a thing.
He's a whole person? Like it's not. Oh, Jared Leto.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of Jared Leto, Khalid.
Yeah.
Would you fight or flirt with which god would you most want to fight, and which one would you most want to flirt with?
I would most want to fight Khonshu. Like, my initial instinct is to say Amit, but like, and I loved what Ethan Hawke did with his character for the run of this, but like, it seemed like Amit was more or less a really hands-off god. Like he's even when he, when Harrow's character is like, hey, I know my scales aren't balanced. Like, if you want to kill me, go ahead. She's like, no, I had a guy whose scales were balanced and I still ended up in prison for centuries. Like, you might be doing a good job. Just keep doing your thing. I like that. That's a hands-off boss that's like, I'm going to come in when like it's my time to shine. But up until then, do your thing. Like, that's a pretty agreeable relationship. What I can't stand is Khonshu just like talking hot shit about Steven, like any chance he gets, just like dunking on this poor dude who clearly has like no idea what's going on. And he's just like such an abusive dude that like, of course, Ethan Hawke's character like went full dark side and was like, yeah, honestly, this isn't working for me. I gotta go find somebody that just like is a little bit more my pace. Like, Khonshu is so mean and like at times just out and out evil. And I was just like, I wish that somebody would just like jack him in the face. And so I would, without hesitation, fight Khonshu, even if it meant I died. Like, I could not even fake flirt with him. And then obviously, the person I would give my entire heart and soul to is Tawadet. That is a big ball of love. Just she takes the form of a hippo, but isn't as scary as a real hippo, in that like she could kill me in like 2 seconds. She could because she's a god, but she won't. She's just like so just positive and wants the best for people. And like even when she takes on Layla as her avatar, it's like a no strings, like take it when you want, take it back when you don't, you know? And I love that so much. And I would be such a devoted avatar for Tawadet. And it would go beyond flirting. It would just be like just pure amour, you know? Like I want to take her to like Paris and get her like beignets. I want to treat her like the goddess that she is.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
What about you?
That's great. No, I don't think I could say anything better than you did. I think that was perfect. Fight Khonshu, mostly ignore Amit, flirt with Tawadet.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's the way to go.
I think that's the way you go. Yeah. It's beautiful. Circling all the way back to the beginning of the segment, also fight Jared Leto.
On principle, I think that's just let's just make that like the official like Frankenstein's podcast stance. If Jared Leto is in anything we're talking about, he's an automatic fight.
Yep. Automatic fight now.
Yeah. So you better hope we never, for some reason, talk about the WeWork show, Jared.
Spoilers for our Morbius episode.
Oh God, would you ever do the Morbius episode?
No, we just did it. That's all we're gonna do with it.
All right, folks. This is a two-hander. We did Moon Knight and technically Morbius. So get it while it's hot.
Technically Morbius. Yeah. That was good. Yeah, I think we should probably start wrapping it up. We're going long. We've been going on long a lot of episodes lately. I think it's fine though. But should we rock our final segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're going to move on to our last segment, our What the Fandom segment, in which we share something that we're interested in the moment, something that may or may not have anything to do with monsters or the MCU, whatever we talked about, something we think y'all might dig. So, Khalid, what the fandom with you?
Thanks for asking, Joe. My What the Fandom this week is going to be a movie I, as of now, watched like 2 weeks ago. It's on Netflix. It's called RRR or Triple R, whatever you want to call it. It's amazing, and it actually works really well with like our first foray into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because this movie is basically like a Marvel movie cranked up by 1,000. And I know there are people that have like, it's an Indian movie, or at least it was originally shot in Tamil, which is a different language than Hindu. The Netflix version has a Hindu dub. And I know if you regularly watch Indian movies, this is probably not as surprising to you, but if you're like me and only kind of casually have seen movies here and there, this movie will blow you away. It is a 3-hour plus like epic tale about these two guys. I am not going to spoil anything about it, just to tell you that like it had just such balls to the wall, like insane action choreography. The storyline was incredibly captivating. The performances are fantastic. it had a theatrical run in America, which is very like not like uncommon for an Indian film. But when you see it, you understand exactly why. Like this, I wish I'd seen it in theaters, but take my word for it, it is just as like jaw-droppingly amazing on your home screen on your television. Do yourself a favor, check it out while it's still on Netflix. It's RRR. I will tell anybody with working ears and eyes to go see this, because this movie deserves to be seen in all its glory and speak on its own merits. It's so good.
Nice. I've heard good things. What does RRR stand for? Is that a spoiler?
It's not a spoiler. It's like, let me look it up, because like it's technically like 3 parts of a story, and they like call each part of it like something that starts with an R. I think a part of that has to do with the fact that like there is an actual title in its initial native Tamil, but with like these Indian movies, like they usually try to do acronyms for global marketing, so that it's like easier for people to like say like,
that makes sense,
go watch this movie. So like there is like an actual like narrative reason why it's called RRR, but I couldn't tell you offhand.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm excited to check that one out. It's been on my radar for a while, and and your glowing review has sold me.
I cannot, like, when I tell you there are like so many frames of this movie that should just be painted on the side of a van, like just such epic visuals.
Cool.
So good. Anyways, Joe, what the fandom with you?
Ooh, damn. Thanks for winding up that one.
Had to do it for you, buddy. Just once.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm going to go with 2 things today, actually. My number one, I have been reading a lot of novellas lately. I've been just with the move and the kids and everything, I haven't got a whole lot of time to sit down and read a lot of books. And novellas are kind of nice and breezy, but there's a lot of good like short horror stories in novella form. And one I wanted to shout out specifically is one I just finished called Hammers on Bone by Cassandra Khaw. And it's like a detective noir story that's set within like a world that has like Lovecraftian elements to it. And so the main character is a private investigator, but he's also like some sort of like Lovecraftian monster underneath that. But he kind of wanted to escape that aspect of the universe and just kind of deal with humans, but kind of keeps getting drawn back into these plots that have like existential ramifications and like, you know, unearthly creatures involved in some capacity. It's a short, breezy read, but it teeters at first on kind of like humorous, almost like really tropey detective noir stories, and then goes to some pretty dark places throughout the story too. So I really enjoyed it. And Cassandra Khaw is a kind of I think she was relatively new on the scene in 2016 with this novella, and there's since been a sequel, and she's written some other things, but I'm excited to read more from her, and I really enjoyed it. So Hammers on Bone, definitely check that out. And my second one, Khalid, I'm actually going to do a music recommendation like you, because I want to be cool. But you're probably going to think I'm not cool based on what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it. One thing you may not know about me, Khalid, is I like a lot of things. Right? A whole lot of things.
Sure. I think I did know that, but go on.
Yeah. One thing that most people don't know that I like is I tend to like 90s country.
Wow. That's listeners, when I tell you, I thought I knew everything there is to know about Joe. This is new. I'm blindsided.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like we talk a lot about hip hop. I like bluegrass a lot. So those are my main go-to genres, but I have this soft spot for like 90s country every once in a while. And I've been like digging down into the musical duo, the Judds. Have you heard of them?
You know, I haven't.
Yeah, well, they're a mother and daughter duo from they started in the 80s actually, but they have a lot of stuff from the 90s, and it's the lead vocalist, it's Winona Judd and her mother Naomi Judd, and they have a lot of great bangers, some sweet jams, just like old school 90s country, no pretense with it, very fun. Anyway, they just got indicted to the Country Hall of Fame.
Inducted? I don't think they were brought up on charges. Yeah.
Whoops. Oh, good. Thanks. Good catch, Khalid. Inducted. They're indicted. Yeah, indicted. No, they're inducted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Into the Country Hall of Fame recently. And the day before they were inducted, Naomi passed away. So it was kind of a bittersweet moment for them as a duo. But I've been listening to it since hearing that news, and I've enjoyed their stuff. They have some good songs. They have you just go to Apple Music and type in the Judds, and you can list some of their essential music. But they're good. Good stuff.
R.I.P. I had heard about her passing, so that was sad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So those are my fandoms for this week.
Awesome. Yeah. So you got some good stuff to check out from us, guys. Definitely give all of that a watch, read, listen.
Yeah. Watch, read, listen. Awesome. Yeah, we covered a lot of bases there.
We did. We're very cultured individuals, even with our packed schedules.
We are. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's all we have for you all. Be sure to check us out on Twitter, right? Franken Podcast. Follow us there.
Is it Frankenpod?
Franken Podcast,
Which is not a
Al Franken Podcast.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, guys, listen, rate, review. Thank you as always for listening. I don't think we have anything queued up yet for the next episode, but we will.
Got some ideas in the back pocket, but we'll let you know on the socials.
Swirling in the ether. But yeah, until next time, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and creep it easy.